coming up on Cruisin'.
And there was a Bronco for sale on the side of the road. And this girl, the cutest out of the batch, thought this truck was just the coolest thing she'd ever seen.
Welcome to Cruisin'. I'm Bill Barranca. You know how we're always like talking about muscle cars? Well, how about this? Muscle trucks. That's what's going on here at Classic Ford Broncos, where they take what's been a classic and make it something really special. Check it out.
The business started about 10 years ago. I was on my way to the Kentucky Derby with a group of buddies for a bachelor party. And on the way to the Derby, we were walking and we were with a group of girls that we met the night before. And there was a Bronco for sale on the side of the road. And this girl, the cutest out of the batch, thought this truck was just the coolest thing she'd ever seen. So I walked over to it, saw it was $4,000 and thought, hey, the Bronco's just one of those cars that you don't see it very often. You see Jeeps everywhere, and Jeeps are super cool. Everybody loves Jeeps. The problem that I've always had with a Jeep is there could be a 16-year-old driving it, or there could be a 70-year-old driving it, and everybody in between. And when you come up to a stoplight and there's a Jeep on every corner, it's not special. You know, it's not something that you see and you look at and you say, wow, what is that? It's Jeep. They're everywhere. And that's where I've always felt that the Bronco kind of fills in the gap of, you know, it's got that Jeep vibe, but it's also got the vintage truck vibe to it that a Jeep just doesn't have.
The Bronco was made for how many years?
It was made from 66 through 77, the body style that we focus on, 66 through 77.
So you look at these and it's like, all right, you're taking this thing. It's still a Bronco, but you're making it a classic Ford Bronco. So what's changing?
I am a vintage car guy in my head, but I am not a vintage car guy in the function of the car. So when we really started to dive into these cars, I wanted to figure out how can I, not truly being a mechanical car guy, how can I maintain the look of this car but have the function of a modern day driver? So that's kind of where our concept started, was we need to figure out a way to make this car reliable. So our thoughts were, how can we still maintain the look of the car, you know, and make it feel vintage and look vintage but just work? And that's where our concept came in, to take out the original drivetrains of these cars, put in modern day drivetrains, keep the looks, but put the new function in it so the car just works.
This jumps out at you though. Why does this, I mean, it's still a traditional Bronco, yet it isn't, but why does it jump out?
You know, it's one of those things that I want to still try and maintain what Ford did back in the 60s and 70s. They've got a great look, they've got a great style. It looks like an old truck, you know, and that's one of the things that we wanted to do, is put a little bit of the country club look into it with the modern materials, the leather, the Bluetooth, you know, raise them up a little bit and give them that tough beach look, but still maintain the original factory style of this truck so that the average person looking at it doesn't necessarily know that it's been messed with. It still maintains that vintage vibe.
What's the appeal?
It's just cool, you know? It's flashy, but it's flashy in all of the right ways. It's not like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini or a
who
Porsche.
wants those?
Right, yeah, those are fun cars. You still, you know, you have a good time with them, but the problem with those cars is they're kind of saying, look at me, in the wrong way. Where with a Bronco, nobody knows that these cars are $200,000. If you told somebody that this car was $200,000, they'd probably look at you like you had three heads and think you're crazy that this truck costs $200,000. You know, that's what's kind of cool with this car, is it appeals to everybody, and it appeals to everybody without saying, hey, look, I spent a whole bunch of money on this car. Look at me, am I cool now? It's just, it's cool because it's got a vintage style, it's not a Jeep, and it's got a little bit of personality. And that's one of the things that we do here, you know, with our building, is we allow you to choose how you want the car to look with the cosmetics. Whether it's the paint, the interior, the wheels and tires, the bumper package. We'll make that car exactly how you want it.
And it's still unlike like kit cars and everything. I mean, this still is the Ford license.
It is absolutely still a vintage Ford truck. We take a donor car. We do start with an original Ford Bronco. We strip it down to the bare frame, And then we work with the partners that we've established out there, like Buckeye Restoration, to provide us with a brand new Ford licensed tub within our process to build these trucks. So we've got, it's all about the partnerships that we have in place to help us get to the final product that we have, and we're very particular on the products that we use.
This is going so well. There's such a demand. As a business owner, you're always looking for the next thing. What's like a different step or a next step you want to take?
With the Ford platform that we're using right now, we're hoping to expand into other vintage Ford trucks. They've got the Ford F100s, they've got the Ford F250s. We prefer to stay in the 4x4 world, but the reality is trucks are what's cool right now. The function of them, the factor of, just overall how you can use them. My wife's not a truck person, I'm a truck person. It's very easy to add this as a third or a fourth car to the family because, if your family wants to use it, fantastic. If not, I can make my Lowe's runs and throw stuff in the back of the truck. I can have excuses to go furniture shopping because I get to use my truck.
In a $200,000 truck
I know, that's what's cool about these is it's not the same. It's not like building a vintage Porsche where the car has to be perfect, it has to be clean, it has to be detailed all the time. At the end of the day, this is just a truck, and a truck is a truck. And sometimes the bumps and bruises tell the story of the truck, and it just works out.
Just ahead, we are going to show you how Classic Ford Broncos takes this and turns it into this. No, seriously, that's what goes on. That's just ahead on Cruisin'. Welcome back to Classic Ford Broncos on Cruisin'. So when you first started and you saw this, you're like, okay, I can make this work just from a tub.
Yeah, it really was one of those situations where we said, how can we make it better than it was from Ford? Our thought process was, if we can, instead of restoring an original body, if we just start with brand new metal, we're always gonna have a consistent product. It's gonna be the same every time. We're gonna know exactly what we're working with. We can control the gaps, we can control the bodywork, and ultimately it's brand new. With the new bodies that are provided to us from Buckeye, it's consistent every single time and we control the end product.
And then you take it to a frame, which, similar but different story here.
Yeah, we always start with an original truck, so we do salvage the original frame from the Bronco. That's another thing that Buckeye does for us, is they take our original frames, they put them on a frame rack, they test all of that stuff for us to make sure that the product that we're starting with the original frame, is good enough for them to build a new Ford licensed tub on top of that original frame.
And so marrying it at that point, pretty simple?
Yeah, so they're actually building the tubs on their jigs on top of our original frame. They do all the body work. They weld the trucks together. Once they have the final product, they gap everything proper. They weight the doors, they gap them, they put the hood on, they put the tailgate on, they build the entire truck. Once the truck is built and gapped, then Buckeye does all the body work for us as well. So they deliver the trucks to us on the original factory frame, already body worked, prepped, ready for paint. We further customize it. Some people want, they want the marker lights, some people want 2 gas tanks, some people want 1 gas tank, some people want side trim, no side trim. So they're delivered to us in a stage from Buckeye that's technically ready for paint, that allows us now to take it and finish the product out to our
And this is where the fun begins for Classic Ford Bronco.
Absolutely. That's where the truck goes from looking like bare metal to looking like one of these beautiful trucks back here.
And you take a look at the truck, and the cool thing is now, your clients go online and then you're in constant conversation with them on what they can do. Like, what can I do? I've got this shell. I want to buy one of these Classic Ford Broncos.
We give you the ability to choose all of the cosmetics of the truck. We've spent the last 10 years figuring out what components actually work for these cars. So we want these trucks to leave here as a representation of our brand. So we want them to work. We also warranty everything that we do for 2 years. So we want to make sure that we know the components that are going into this truck are going to work. Because ultimately, I don't want to spend money on warranty work. Any warranty work that we have to provide on these trucks comes out of my pocket. So we want to build them as best as we possibly can so we don't have to spend any extra money.
Well, I'm guessing most of your clients, kind of like me, except with money, would be like, hey, I want this car, I want this kind of dash, I want these kind of seats. So what are some of the cool things? Obviously the colors they pick up, what else?
Yeah, you get to choose the cosmetics. So early in our process, we'll have a design call. We go through, I ask you a couple questions of how are you gonna use this truck? What's your wife's favorite color? Because we all know the wife actually makes the decision on these Broncos. But you get to choose the paint. You get to choose the material for the seats, whether it's leather or it's tweed or it's unicorn print. We have had somebody request unicorn print for the seats of their trucks, as odd as that is. Chrome trim, black trim, chrome tires, or chrome rims for the tires, black. Mud terrains, all terrains, different roll cages for different purposes, but ultimately it's all the cosmetics of the truck.
The outside, like as you were saying, some of the trim work, what are some of the different things we can do?
Like on this truck right here, it has the two-tone grille to offset it from the color of the truck. This trim here is a unique option. The Ford letters trimmed in red and chrome, that's an option. We can do orange lights, white lights, factory style headlights versus the new modern LED headlights. Just, you know, different stuff like that. We've got chrome bumpers, we've got black aftermarket bumpers, we've got winch bumpers, no winch bumpers. Just all of the different things that you can do to the truck to make it yours and to make it stand out a little bit different from what Ford would have done in the 1960s and 1970s. So give it a little bit of a modern twist while keep the vintage style.
And that's something I noticed if we go over like with it, does this one have the dash in?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay, so some of the you had two different basic dash designs that you choose from, and then like how's that work?
So from the factory, Ford had stereos in the center of the dash. We offer that as well as an option to where we shave the dash and we actually put the stereo in the center Tuffy armrest box.
And keeping with the truck feel then, like the flooring?
Yes.
This is a spray-on?
It is a spray-in bed liner. We do that for a couple of reasons. One, it helps with preventing the truck from rusting in the future. Water is going to get inside the truck, so that's going to provide a protective layer so that the floors don't rust. That's one of the big things that happened in the 60s and 70s in this style. The trucks were never actually weather tight, so rainwater got into the truck, sat in the floorboards and actually rusted out the truck. It's one of the big places that these Broncos rust is in the floorboards.
What have you learned about these? Because you weren't the truck guy.
No, I wasn't a truck guy. You know, I've learned that they're cool and they're utilitarian. So it's something that, you know, if your kids are jumping in it or they're climbing over the tires in the back and they scratch the truck, it's a truck. This is one of the biggest dramatic changes that we make to these Ford Broncos, is we take the old tired 302 carbureted situation out of these trucks and we put the new current year, which right now it's 2019, Ford Mustang, Ford F-150, Coyote 5-liter V8 engine. This is what allows our trucks to be modern, daily drivable, and reliable cars. They don't smell. They start every time you turn the key. They don't leak all over your floor. They sound cool and they provide enough power for you to pass other cars when you're merging onto the highway. But the Coyote engine is just, it's also efficient. You know, I'm sure you know the old cars got 7 miles to the gallon. One of the joys of driving that car is every couple hours you have to pull over at a gas station. And with this car, it has the modern efficiency. You still have the power, but you get 20 miles per gallon with this engine in the truck.
Up next
is a full-out museum quality restoration. No expense spared here on this.
The Buckeye Guys. They're next on Cruisin'.
Welcome to this edition of Cruisin' with the Buckeye Guys. Today I have 139 Mustang number in front of me here. We're showing progress on this Concours restoration. It is a full-out museum quality restoration. No expense spared here on this. It has the best parts, best material you can get that are on the market for this rust-free body. What we've done here since the last time, we've added the brake booster, fully detailed, to some wiring, dash wiring. All original glass is detailed and clean. The motor here will be going in shortly. So you'll see the updates throughout the season here with the motor in the car and hopefully running and driving before we wrap up for the year. But what we got here is complete, awesome, totally rare Mustang here. This is as rare as the one in the Henry Ford Museum. And actually, we'll probably even film this year too, 139 and Mustang number 140 next to each other, back-to-back VIN numbers, which is really cool. Two pre-production Mustangs, same color. The only differentiation is the top color. One's got a white top, 139 here has a black top. So a lot of quality. The details here are absolutely fantastic. We got phosphate and oil finish here that we do here in-house. We send our zinc plating out to a zinc plater in Cleveland, and it's just really looking spectacular. Our carburetor here, which was done by our friend at Harry Benchwick at Benchwick Carburetors, and you can see the awesome detail in that. Fully detailed engine here for number 139. We're gonna mate the transmission to it here shortly, and then we'll put it in the car just like Ford would have done at the factory. And you can see here all detailed, the blue valve covers, black intake, black motor, black oil filter. So this will be in the motor here shortly. It'll be in the 139 here shortly, and then the drive shaft detail will come. But if you take a look here, we have the dash here is starting to come together. The door windows are all in here. It is absolutely a beautiful restoration going on with this car. The quality of work is second to none. So now we have a fully functioning restored convertible top frame here that moves very easily. It's a manual top, so it goes up and down. And this here will get the convertible vinyl top put on. Now this has to be custom made for this car because it's a pre-production top and you can't get this anywhere. The well liner is completely custom on this car. So we're gonna outsource that and get some pictures of that being installed. The detail of this car underneath is second to none. The rear end is absolutely looking gorgeous. And then we have to, all this high-end work we've done on this car, it has to be ruined. I don't call it ruined, but I call it professionally detailed. We have to, and Jeff over there is laughing at me, all this fine detail underneath here and in the fender wells, and once the fenders are on, has to get sound deadener, just like the factory would have done. And all the paint markings are gonna get covered up. So for points judging, you have to do that. All right, now I got Jeff here who's done a lot of the body work, actually all of the body work on this fantastic Mustang number 139. Now how's the hand sanding? I mean the tedious hand sanding in this engine compartment, for example.
Oh, yeah.
There's over 300 hours in this engine compartment. The sanding on the shell, we're over 1,000 hours of actual paint time and body work time from bare steel. It is very time consuming, Jeff. Just
it was
say,
all hand stripped.
Yeah.
Because we didn't want to sandblast and get sand all in the frame and everything.
And there's no DA, no board file. It's all done by long block on this car. Mm-hmm. The only polishing done was by machine. Everything else was hand sanded. And the quality of work that's gone into this it's just over the top. The brakes, I mean, Jeff, how do you get stuff like that when it just sticks out there with the with the contrast?
Yeah.
I mean, the level of phosphate on the bolts, the zinc plating. Show them how nice the window regulators work.
Yeah, everything's so clean and smooth.
Now, not to scare anybody at home, but this restoration on this car here will end up being about $350,000. That is the time that is in this car restoration. So it is just absolutely over the top in how it shuts.
I don't know where to begin. It's just, there's so many differences in this car as opposed to a production car that I learned. I would have never known anything about it, you know, but it's definitely a different car. But yeah, there's a lot of detail, a lot of time.
And the dash pad, for instance, we have a break in the vinyl. Now, how are we going to repair that? Because the original dash pads that were on production cars has a different grain. This dash pad is so unique, it's irreplaceable. So we have to revisit how we're going to fix the crack. And the next steps on this, like Jeff here, he's rebuilding the rally pack. The rally pack was painted last week, and that's coming along very good. We'll put the instrument cluster in, and once the instrument cluster's in, the steering column will go in, and then the rally pack steering wheel, and that'll be good there. You have to see it to understand how well it really looks in person. And Jeff, you've done a fantastic job on this, and it looks really sweet. For all your restorations, customs need, muscle cars, trucks, Broncos, Buckeye Classic Car Restoration is your one-stop shop. We can do it all here. Give us a call at 330-533-4757, buckeyeresto.com.
Coming up.
We build 4 to 5 trucks a month, and goes through the whole process.
Next on Cruisin'. Now back to Columbus, Ohio, where we're visiting with Classic Ford Broncos on Cruisin'. Brian, I love the fact that we can take this all the way from just a tub into what we're seeing here, and you can get something in 2019 that is better than what the original was back in 66 to 77.
Absolutely, that's what we try and do here at Classic Ford Broncos.
And one other thing I love is all these ones on display are going to be gone in a week, and you'll have a whole new room in here?
Yeah, we build 4 to 5 trucks a month, and goes through the whole process, start to finish, ends up here in the showroom, and then ships out.
Here in the showroom in Columbus, Ohio, where, you got one going to Tel Aviv, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so if you're overseas and you want to get yourself a Classic Ford Bronco, this is the place to be. Brian, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
If you want something unique, Classic Ford Broncos, or of course, stay with Cruisin'. We got another episode coming up soon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Bill Barranca.